All right, I had to come back. Excuse me. Still have a cough. I had to come back because I listened to my video a couple of times, and there were some things that I left out, and there also some things that I need to clarify. When I listened to my video, it came across. It seemed as if I was really attacking law of attraction. And that's not what I was doing at all. The law of attraction is a universal law. It's one of God's laws. There are many of them. And when we're dealing with God's laws, we're dealing with something that cannot be avoided, it cannot be manipulated, and it can't be mitigated. All of God's laws are perfect and predictable. So when I was talking about law of attraction, I was talking about those who teach law of attraction and their interpretation of it. Because and I've heard many law of attraction teachers out there, so I know what they're saying. And so I just had a banana, sorry. I know that the teachings that they're putting out there, and I can understand the perspective. And in their defense, so I'm not attacking them, but if it seemed that way in their defense, I can say that there are certain people who just found out about law of attraction, and it is a universal law. And so if someone learned law of attraction for the first time through anybody, I'll just stay with Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks is one of the ones that I started to listen to in the beginning, aside from watching the movie The Secret. But when I watched that, I just forgot about it because it didn't make any sense. But then when I listened to Abraham, it made more sense. But then as I listened to other teachers, there were other components that were present that Abraham Hicks was leaving out. And so this is what I mean in terms of discerning and knowing what information is complete and what information is not, and being able to take the truth out of some information and discard the part that is not of love, I should say. So earlier in the video, I had mentioned the type 1 and type 2 entities. Well, there's a certain channeler that I had listened to for a long time. And there was something, the information was great. And there was a lot of information, a lot of truth in it. But at times, there was like this energy that I was like, something's not right. Something's not right about that. And so I couldn't just buy into everything that entity was saying, because I knew within me, in my soul, I knew something wasn't right. But that doesn't mean that I had to discard everything. It means that I had to use a discernment and figure this stuff out, which is the responsibility of myself. And the reason why it's my responsibility is because I am responsible for me. I am responsible for my beliefs, and I am responsible for the direction that I take using my free will. Now, I didn't mention free will earlier, but I'll mention it now. Free will is very important, and a lot of people don't really understand how it works. Well, free will is literally like a knife. If you use the knife and you know how to use it, you know how to operate the knife, then it can benefit you very well. But if you don't know what you're doing with the knife, and you've never used it before, or you don't know how to manage the knife, then it can do some serious damage to yourself and other people. So we use our free will every day, either to engage something or refrain from engaging something. But it's all our free will. All of it is our choice. So earlier I was talking about how many people see the ego as being something separate. and it's really all one. It's all your soul. But since we look at them that way, I had mentioned that this new age is assisting people with creating bliss, and it really comes from either pivoting, which is basically changing your thought to a different thought, or changing your thought to a more positive thought, leaving the negative thought behind. And that's one way to put yourself in this more blissful state, right, where you're not feeling the negative emotions. And then another part that they're teaching is to meditate. But the thing with meditation, like I mentioned earlier, you're not really addressing the problem. Look, I know some people who think they are masters at law of attraction and they're great at attracting things, but they have buttons that are big as I don't know what, and once you push that button, they go off, and you can see it. It's, you know, they they like to retaliate if you say something that they don't like, and they're like, well, you're negative, and rah, 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 rah. Or like, I don't have to listen to this BS, and all these different emotions, right? And so they have to go back into this meditative state. And so this is what I'm talking about. Just because you meditate and you put yourself in a blissful state does not mean that all of those injuries that you have within you or had within you are gone. They're still there. You've just learned how to trick yourself from acknowledging that you have an injured self. So you have your original self, you have your injured self, and then you have your facade, which is your ego. But you have to understand that, well, you don't have to understand anything. You can take what I say with a grain of salt. It's whatever it is to you, right? But for some of you, you will understand what I'm talking about, and this will assist you in better understanding yourself and why you do things in addition to how others operate. So like I said, you have your original self, your inner self, and your facade that you have created. But what you have to understand is that your original self ended up creating an injured self. And it is this injured self that people don't want to deal with. So what they do is they create a facade to mask the injury so they don't have to deal with the injured self. So they create this different character. This facade, the ego, which is what they call it now. And so they do that to mask all the injuries so they never have to deal with it. So the New Age movement and some of these teachings are basically saying, well, all you have to do is let's get rid of the ego and create this bliss so that you don't have to deal with the desires and the passions of the ego. And you also don't have to deal with the injuries. So it keeps you right there in this state where you're not really having a will for anything anymore. Because when you're meditating, you're not desiring anything. You're not willing for anything. Nothing's happening. And you're also not dealing with the negative stuff. So this is that bliss state that I was talking about where they try to get you to stay. But like I said earlier in the video, we were put here to create, to experience emotions. But the thing is, if you're not willing for anything anymore, because look, when you're in meditation, it's said that when you're meditating, you're at a peaceful, restful, calm state, and you're one with everything. Just one with everything. And that's not really what it is. We didn't come here to be just in silence. We didn't come here to not will for anything. We came here to will for everything and anything that we want. This is what we have. This is where the free will comes in, to decide what it is we want to experience, what it is we desire to have that come into our lives. So when you're in this meditative, blissful state, you're not doing any of the things that our Creator allowed us to come here to experience. So this is you know, what's so important about this is to know what's really going on with you. Just because you're not feeling negative emotions and you were able to push away all your desires and passions doesn't mean that that's what we came here for. we could have stayed in the spirit world if that were the case, but we didn't. We came here. We came here. So now I just wanted to add that because I didn't really make that clear in the earlier video I made this morning. So I hope that cleared it up a little bit more than I did in the initial video. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to comment, and I'm happy to respond to your comments. Let's see if there's anything else. I think that was it. But just remember that I'm not saying that law of attraction is bad or anything like that. I'm just saying be mindful and aware of what you're absorbing. It is your responsibility to yourself in terms of what you absorb and the beliefs that you develop, because all of this stuff will dictate how you move forward in your life. We came here to be the best that we could possibly be, and this is all done through free will. And so if you choose to not want to deal with anything, that's your choice. But all of this stuff has to be dealt with. And when you pass, when you leave the physical world, I should say, the life that you have now, then everything that you didn't deal with will still be there when you die, when you pass on. It's still going to be there in the spirit world, and it's going to be experienced with greater intensity because the how we perceive things in the spirit world is much more intense with the spirit body than it is with the physical body. So keep that in mind. And I do have another video, if you haven't listened to it. I think it's called Soul, Spirit Body, and Physical Body, and it talks about a little bit about what we are and what happens when we pass on, things like that. Alright, so again, you're loved. I know I already said bye, but I'm saying it again. So have a great rest of the week, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye now.